You are flipping in England's big London town. That's not something lovely to do. Not everyone has the balls for that, Elina.
So I specialize in helping women flip to freedom and make either passive income or large lump sums so that they can move on from their 9 to 5. What I always tell them and all of my audience,
Flipping down in London in today's climate, some people might be thinking, oh, it feels a bit risky, but you've done your numbers and it's working for you.
always know your basics, but then do your numbers, follow a proven recipe. Don't go and put anchovies in my cheesecake recipe. Figure out who the buyer is. Where do you put the value on the property, because you're not going to do it everywhere. And then you just flaunt it like crazy.
A lot of people listening to us today is going to be going, how did you get the trades to get that quickly? How did you get a refurb done for 21k in big London town?
I'll start with the refurb because I think that's where my bread and butter, the design stuff, comes in. So
Building wealth through property isn't about chasing big deals and paydays. It's about owning assets that make money for you consistently. But figuring it all out on your own, that's where most people get stuck. That's why we created this Property Life membership. It's everything we wish we had when we started. Expert guidance, real-world case studies, and a private community of investors actually doing deals, not just talking about them. So you could spend years trying to piece it all together yourself, or you could plug into a system that's already working for our community. Check out our membership page at This Property Life. Everything you need to know is right there. Success is a team sport. Come join in.
In today's episode of This Property Life, I'm joined by the lovely Elina James, award-winning interior designer and international property investor whose trademark strategy is Sexy Flips, a strategy that helps women flip their way to financial security and ditch the 9 to 5 hamster wheel. We're diving into flipping in London, one of the most expensive and competitive property markets in the world, and Elina's going to share her unique approach to finding the right projects, adding value with stunning design and still making the numbers work in today's climate. We're also going to get the inside scoop on her current flip, what's going well, the challenges she's facing, and some of the lessons that she's learnt along the way. So if you've ever wondered whether flipping can work in high value areas like London, or you just want some inspiration to take your own projects to the next level, this episode is packed with insight and motivation. I'm your host, Sarah Blaney, so let's get into it. Elina, it's so lovely to have you on today's podcast. Welcome.
thank you for having me.
You are more than welcome. So you are flipping in England's big London town. That's not something a lot of people do. Has the balls for that, Elina?
Quick heads up before we start the show. If you're serious about buy-to-let investing in 2025, you're going to need to know where to invest. Luckily for you, we've helped countless investors find their goldmine area. And we've put together our free 2025 Buy-to-Let Hotspots Guide. It's packed full of insider tips, market trends, and of course, the top 10 UK rental gold mines. So head to our link in the description below and start investing smart.
It's a bit ballsy, I'll give you that, absolutely. But I think I'm a big believer. It's go bold or go home. We're here for one reason and one reason only, and we've got a finite time to do this stuff on the planet. Go big or go home.
Excellent. So come on then, just let's dive in straight into this flip. I think, Elina has a really interesting background, and I think as a bit of a teaser, I'm going to go to another podcast to get all the background and some of the amazing stuff that she's done up in Scotland, over in Finland. Today's episode, it's a short, sharp dive into sexy flips in the city. So talk about it. What happened? What brought you to London town from, Finland via Scotland?
Finland via Scotland. Yeah, we've been busy building property all over the place. And at the moment, involved with my husband in building, or rather renovating, a hacienda in Tenerife. And so whilst he's busy there doing what he's doing, sexy flipping to an extent, people, in a sexy hot climate, I'm sort of thinking, well, hang on a minute. What is the point of me sitting on my own in a forest in Scotland when I can be somewhere else kicking the tires in a completely new market I've never worked in? So that's what actually brought me here. Because I've got the interior design and architecture business, coincidentally, I also have some projects through that now in London. So it seemed like a really good idea to kind of combine the two and come here on a short-term basis and just see what that would mean for me.
Excellent. So you love getting out of your comfort zone. Obviously, flipping down in London in today's climate is, some people might be thinking, oh, it feels a bit risky, but you've done your numbers and it's working for you.
this is what I could teach my ladies. So I specialize in helping women flip to freedom, make either passive income or large lump sums so that they can move on from their 9 to 5. What I always tell them and all of my audience, it's not necessarily the property. So you could pick up a property anywhere. You and I know that it's all about the numbers. And I like to think about it more like the deal. So I'm not looking for property, I'm looking for deals. And this specific one is a deal made in heaven. Honestly, the numbers are so sexy, as is the outcome of the renovation, that it's going to sell itself like this. And that's how this is done. So regardless of the scale, regardless of the country, regardless of the specific town, I firmly believe that if you come across a deal, you come across a deal. Your job is to negotiate it, slap your trademark on it, walk away with cash.
Okay, so how did you find this deal? Because as you said, we as investors, we've really got two jobs in life. We've got to find the deal and find the money. So let's talk about finding the deal. How did you come across this one?
A networking session got me connected to a number of fellow investors, sourcers, agents, builders, the whole lot. And that was an event I went to in London earlier in the year, I think about March time. Through that, got access to a WhatsApp group, not dissimilar to what we have. And there's constantly people looking and selling. And I came across a fantastic agent. I can't speak of him highly enough. He's become probably also a bit of a friend. He's just a top bloke. And he had two people, a couple who are now getting to the point in their life where they want to start consolidating and just sort of selling off their portfolio, 12 million worth of property. And they know how the game works because they're fellow investors. So the market value of the property was 1.1 million, but they were willing to start the discussions around the 950 mark, which is crazy, but tells you these are the kind of people who do not need all the money up front. And they've rented it, they've leased it for years and years and years and years, had really good results with it because it's a really sought after area. So again, back to basics. Do your area analysis. It needs to be a cracking street that people actually want to live on, which this is. It's in Angel, Islington. So really close to, King's Cross and commuting and that kind of thing. So I think they have gotten their money out of it years ago because they have held it for a very long time. And in my books, there's three types of people. There's the people who want all their money up front, which I'm not interested in, unless the deal is really good. There's those who are willing to wait for some of it. And then there's these two people seem to be, who just need to know that the property is sold and they're going to get that money eventually.
Something creative around this one. Has that been the case?
That has been very much the case. Wait till you hear the figures. But it was interesting because I was shown the property. It was a virtual view and I was sat at the back of my friend's car in Finland helping her move house. And then me and the agent had a virtual view. And I said, look, I really like it. It's definitely got legs. But at that point, I didn't know enough about the vendor to actually have the bravery and go and do anything creative. So it was like, right, well, you want that money. Where am I going to get the deposits from? How's this going to work? And I had an investor who was happy to come into the deal, but her situation was such that she had the risk of potentially needing to pull her cash out in as little as 2 months. And I said, that's never going to work. So I walked away from the deal. And then I met the agent to go and see something completely different in the same area. And I said, look, while I'm here, why don't we just go and have a look at the original? And I walk in and I loved it. Not for myself, people. Always remember this. Who's your buyer? But for the potential tenant or whoever would be buying it. And that's kind of how that was done. And I said, look, I'm willing to offer, but it's going to be super creative. And Nick said, look, they'll probably be up for it. They just need to know that it's sold. So are you ready, Sarah? Are you ready? Do you want to hear what happened?
Facts.
Okay. Took me a little bit out of my comfort zone. Somebody asked you to pay $3.50 for a coffee and you go, will you take 30p? Why would they? But this is what happened. So we settled on $840. So market value 1.1, settled on $840. But this is where the clever, sexy stuff comes in. So I offered them 10% on exchange. So $84,000.
Yeah.
Of which I would give them £5,000 as soon as they took the property off the market and stopped marketing it to anyone. Look, it was off property, but you know what I mean, not showing it to anybody else. And they accepted it. We then negotiated for a long, hard time on how long the completion would take. So rather than an option, this was actually a delayed completion. And I negotiated 9 months from the £5,000 deposit.
Okay.
And the works were done in 2.5 weeks, which is the quickest I've ever changed a kitchen and a bathroom. A cracking team, again, all due to the contacts that I made through networking.
So you've got a property that's 1.1 million at book value. You'd originally, or they had it up for 950,000. You've offered 840,000 with 84,000 down, and £5,000 of that immediately released from the solicitor's client account to their bank account, and that's a non-refundable £5,000.
As in fairness is the rest of the money. So if I completely was to screw this up and never sell, I would lose that £84,000. But you and I know that that's not going to happen because my second exit is refinancing it. And having done the figures now with one of the great contacts that you have given me through, this channel, I've secured a mortgage on it, a buy to let, which, would be yielding £1,500 a month in net passive income. Should I take another deal on, which has been offered to me, where the Bank of Australia is interested in hiring it for $5,200 a month on a long-term lease.
So you've got multiple exits on this already. You could
I've
flip
got
it.
multiple. Yeah.
You can rent it on a normal AST, or you can put it out to a corporate let with the Bank of Australia.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Why did they take the 840?
I think they are at the point where they just want to move on. They had a pretty troublesome tenant in there, which they ended up in court with. And I think they've literally got sort of post-traumatic stress disorder on the property. So they love the property, but they do not under any circumstance want to go through the hassle that they did with that one last tenant that they had. So I think it's almost like we've made our money out of it. We just want to move on. Just get rid of this one. And at the same time, Sarah, as I said, they are selling the rest of their portfolio at the same time. So they are downsizing, they are consolidating, which brings me to my next question of, well, what else are you selling?
One of those questions which we always have ready to roll out whenever we're in front of
an
agent.
That's it. But I think the furthest exit thing in here is that, if we look at sort of return on capital employed, I only put in a very small amount of money because I had an angel investor who came in with 50,000. So I paid the rest of that 84,000 from my savings, so no finance involved. Did a £21,000 renovation on it. The legal cost is 10. Agency fee is going to be 11. And then I've got running costs, which I've taken on for the property for the duration of the license to renovate, which is £300 a month. So it's clever because I've gotten this literally for nothing.
Excellent. So you've had, obviously, there's an angel investor involved. You've put some money in. There's some ongoing costs, and you've had to pay for the renovation, which, we can always find very creative ways of doing. That's taken you 2.5 weeks. So the property presumably is finished and a finished product.
So it's viewing well. So it's been on the market for just under a month, about 3.5 weeks. And we did something I thought quite nice, which is, I'm thinking if you're selling a £1 million property, you need to do something a little bit, high end. So we had an open night. We actually had an open week. So Mummy popped into Majestic Wine, got some Veuve, got some beers, hired some flutes and glasses. And then we did like a little gathering. There were investors, there were portfolio owners, and then just normal people who wanted to look at the property. And it created a little bit of hype. And because it was almost like selling an experience in a weird way to people who my agent is very well connected to, we've created a bit of momentum. And now there's actually other agencies who are sort of sniffing about going, what you guys doing? So it's obviously working. It's drumming up interest. But look, it ain't over until the fat lady sings. So gotta work, gotta sell. What I would say about that 1.1 val though is that was on the original condition of the building.
Yes.
And another clever thing we did is we actually went to market showing the hideous old pictures of that awful kitchen and bathroom. And in text said to the people, well, actually, we've renovated these areas. But now people are coming with the mindset of, right, okay, I'm going to barter. because I need to do the kitchen and the bathroom. They walk into an immaculately renovated flat and go, shit, there's nothing to negotiate on. How do I secure this?
That's a bold move, because do you feel that you might have alienated some of the people that actually want the finished product?
Maybe, we may have, but they're all in a database now, and the marketing seems then has changed. So we've now gone back to the actual final images. So people do see what they're wanting to see. But I thought it was interesting. It's almost like, here's something extra I've done for you. And then because of the design sort of background that I have, something that I am a big believer in is a win-win for anybody that I deal with. It's really important to me and my values. So what I'm offering any buyer is a £5,000 interior design service for free. So I'll either furnish the flat, change their color scheme, redo some of the renovation works. That's obviously the service fee. So that would be the value of the service. They would then obviously pay for whatever it is that they want done, whether it's renovations or furniture.
Okay, all right. So you've really gone for the experiential thing about this one. So the whole buy-in process is an experience, as you said.
What's that?
So what is the asking price at the moment? So it was 1.1 when it was in the previous condition, and you've done some works to it. And where are we at now?
Offers over 1.1.
Yeah. Okay. And are you confident that that's going to come through in the next couple of months?
Because it's like, if you think about it, if you put 20k in value in a renovation, anywhere else in the UK, you should be seeing triple the return. London, probably 4 times that. So I'm hoping that somebody will fall in love with it just enough to go just a little bit over that 1.1. Because with my investor, I've got an overage on that, and I want to give her 50% of anything over that price. It's really important to me that she does well.
Fair enough. With the stamp and the refurb and, sort of your cost of money on certain bits, how much are you in for at the moment?
So, no stamp, baby. This is
because you're doing...
I'll never hold the property.
You're doing it back to back.
It's not my property. I am literally holding it. I'm renovating it under what's called a license to renovate. I am directly passing that on to the ultimate buyer, paying the vendor out, but I'm never going to hold the title.
Is it a back-to-back, or is it an assisted sale?
It's back-to-back.
Okay, and then your second exit, if we get to the end of the 9 months, is that you can then go on to a mortgage and then see the tenants.
And then obviously, then I do need to pay that. But at the moment, it's looking like I'll save £72,000 in stamp.
So the worst case scenario is that you've paid out 72 on stamp, 21 on a refurb, and some professional costs, etc. in there, which is about 120-ish or something like that. And then it brings you to the 960, and then you're going to sell for hopefully like over 1.1, and you'll make, I don't know what, 150 to 200k profit on it at the worst scenario.
Yeah.
You had to pay stamp.
Absolutely. So if you went with say it went for a little bit over the 1.1, this is best case. Obviously, it could go at the 1.1, it could go a little bit under, but the absolute best case value would be sell for 1.15, take the 840,000 out of that, less the renovation cost of 21, less the 10,000 for legals. Hate the legals. Less the 11,000 for the agent. You would be getting 268, and then I've got interest to pay to my angel, so that would leave you 265. So that's a 31.5% ROI.
Yeah, which I think anyone's going to take, aren't they? We'll all be very happy with that. I mean, it does sound like an incredible deal, and I love the way that you've just gone the extra mile in terms of the negotiation of the front end, the experience aspect of doing these viewings, and then also being really realistic and allowing yourself 9 months to get the reno done, which was done in 2 weeks, but then 8.5 months to actually get the sales process done, because I think that is really realistic in today's market and just the way things work. Because even if one sale falls over, you still actually got time to get another sale through.
Of course, we all wanted to sell like tomorrow. But there's also other things that we can do. We can now leverage that asset because we know the valuation of it. So we could potentially use that as a bargaining chip for the next deal and make sure that we've got something that we can roll forward.
And the original or the current vendors, because obviously they still own the property, have they been back in? Have they seen what's happened to it? And they know what you're doing and they're fully on board and supportive?
That's it. Yeah, they are. Because look at the worst case scenario. If I was hit by a bus, let's hope that doesn't happen, and what have you. They could, in the best case scenario for themselves, in the worst for myself, end up with a fully renovated apartment.
Yeah.
Which cost them nothing.
Yeah,
so they're kind of in the background going, this is quite nice. I like what she's done, which is great. And I guess, my next question then is like, when do I get to meet these people and what else have they got in their bag? Let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. So the key to this one, I guess, is I can imagine, having, known you for a couple of years now, Elina, that when you met Nick, the agent, I bet you built up a really quick rapport with him so that he trusted you so that he could then give this deal over and negotiate on your behalf to his clients.
Whether you start building personal relationships with these agents and, it depends on the situation. But with other agents as well, I found that if you incentivize them with the future purchase of the property, now you got a win-win. So it's almost like, yes, I'll buy from you, but will you also then represent me to sell this on? So now they're getting 2 different fees and they're all over the deal. And now it's in all of their interest to get this over the line, and they're selling it like nobody's business. But no, he's a top bloke and I have huge amount of respect for him. And he's busy looking for the next one.
This is absolute proof that you can find deals in one of the world's best capital cities, in an area of that city which is highly desirable. I mean, Angel is an amazing place to go out and have a drink and to live. So you have really pushed all the boundaries on this one and just shown what is possible.
Yes, I threw everything I had at it. And you're right. And I think the message to everybody is do your numbers, always know your basics, but then follow, a proven recipe. Don't go and put anchovies in my cheesecake recipe. Like, just follow the goddamn recipe, do your figures, figure out who the buyer is. Therefore, where do you put the value on the property? Because you're not going to do it everywhere, right? And then you just flaunt it like crazy. It can work anywhere, but you need to know the basics. You need to be informed. You need to be educated, or work with somebody who will hold your hand through it.
Yeah, and I think, you've mentioned it a few times during our chat today that the power of a network is really, really good. So, we're part of this Property Live together, and then you're part of other networks as well. And it's key, isn't it, to getting business done?
It absolutely is. And I think a lot of people struggle with networking, but I think rather than think about it as, I need to put myself out there and what do I say to these people, think about what you're getting back and think about that long-term win-win relationship you're building with people. And, somebody will know somebody who all of a sudden will be the exact person you need. So just be open to it.
I think a lot of people listening to us today is going to be going, can we just circle back to getting a refurb done in London in 2.5 weeks for 21,000? So can we just go back to that? I mean, how did you get the trades to get, that quickly? And how did you get a refurb done for 21k in big London town?
I'll start with the refurb because I think that's kind of where my bread and butter, the design stuff, comes in. So I'm always securing everything at trade. I know where the value is. So it's a Howden's kitchen. I did get some bits from Magnet, but it was important to me that I was able to use my own credit accounts, which I would not have been able to do with certain others. This is the landlord's network thing, right?
Yeah.
So bit of creativity in who I use. So who do I get the best credit terms from, but also who has the best product. So it was a cross between Howden's and Magnet. And I knew the look that I had to achieve, but I went for slightly cheaper ranges and then went a little bit more expensive on things that people like the look of, like worktops and tapware, that kind of thing. The bathroom was not ripped out. So I did a cosmetic reno on it. And basically, it's still all tiled as it previously was. Now, it wasn't a sexy tile. It wasn't offensive, to be honest, Sarah. I use this product a lot. Is basically a wall panel that goes directly on top of a tile. It's 2-3 mil thick. and it basically just gets siliconed on. It looks like tiling, but now we've covered the hideousness. It's a monochrome white gray bathroom for like next to nothing. And then the trades, absolutely. I mean, that's where everybody struggles, myself included. Honestly, there is nothing harder than finding qualified, good, reliable people. But they all came through the agent. Why? Because it's in his interest to get this over the line quickly. And so it was amazing because I'm used to doing all of the project management myself. I'm comfortable doing it, no problem. But then he stepped in and I'm like, well, hang on a minute. What's the roles and responsibilities here? Like, he seems to be running the show. And I went, actually, let him. Let him run the show. And I think that actually worked really well because they are people that he's used in the past. And they all connected. And they all go from one job to another. And they all meet, on a daily basis sort of thing. So the trust is between that group. And then I think between us ladies, I think there was a bit of need to impress the girl who's new to London, because there was a nod that I'll be doing this again.
Yeah, absolutely. So he saw the value in, making a long-term relationship with yourself and your investment company as well. I think a lot of people, if they were expecting to do a flip in London, in somewhere like Angel, they might kind of think, well, gosh, you put Howden's Kitchen in, you boarded on the tiles, but actually, your experience is showing that you don't need to overcapitalize on some of these refurbs. You need to know your target market. And as you said, make the worktops really good. But a unit is a unit often, I think, when you're talking about kitchens and what that carcass looks like.
No
Once you
one
put the worktop on,
cares.
it's completely different.
No.
Nice handle, good worktop, carcass, not so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent point. I mean, whoever ends up buying this, I'm 90% sure we'll end up letting it out. So we're already knowing that it's a buy-to-let market, and it will either be professionals or it'll be students or it'll be a family. One of the key functional problems, which is something that I always start, whether it's designing for myself or my clients, is solve the functional problems first. If you've got a kitchen like I did where there's nowhere to sit, it's not going to work for any one of those audiences. You'd have to take your cup of tea and go to the, lounge opposite. And it's just cumbersome. There has to be a small nook. So it used to be a galley kitchen, cabinetry on both sides. I left one corner open, put a beautiful pendant light in, table, chairs, and now it's already seen as a fully functioning kitchen, which it wasn't before. And so you look for where the problems are, you fix them, and then you just sprinkle the magic on top of that. And then as for the bathroom, who cares? Nobody can tell. Why would you spend the money if it's not necessary?
So I think some big key learnings that I'm picking up, and correct me if I'm wrong, is number one, talk to people, build good relationships, network your little tush off, and know your target market, and don't overcapitalize, and just keep design and all pricing very much with that target market in mind. Is that about right?
That's absolutely spot on. And that's how you do a sexy flip. There's nothing less sexy than leaving the site crying because you lost all your money.
Been absolutely fabulous chatting to you today about this London flip, and hopefully it has inspired people to potentially look around where they're actually living and see what they could get done, especially if southern listeners who are fed up of trekking up the M1 and the M6 to other climes. So this proves it can be done in our capital city and can be done very financially rewarding. Is, you said, follow the recipe, follow the system. That is the key to it, isn't it?
That is it. And flip yourself to freedom, people. Get out of the hamster cage.
Definitely. Elina, how can people get in touch with you? Obviously, if they become part of This Property Life, they will meet you every second Saturday as we network every second Saturday of the month. And obviously, we meet up in person as well. So they can meet you there. But how else can they get in touch with you?
All the handles. So it's Elina James Property. You'll find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And I'm more than happy to have a chat, see what we can do together, or maybe just help you out.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And just as a teaser for everybody, Elina has got some amazing properties up in Scotland, one of which we are going to do a podcast on for definite, because you've been on TV with this one. You've been on, was it BBC?
BBC is Scotland's Home of the Year. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So we are definitely going to have another chat about that. So keep posted for another episode with Elina, because I think she's got some good stuff to tell us. Thank you so much again, and we shall catch up soon.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to seeing you soon.